Welcome back into the Sports Source, the segment of our program brought to you by Safety Systems. This past week, these guys were over at my home. They met my schedule. They arrived on time. They did everything I asked of them and then some. The results were incredible. Go local, folks. Whether it's an entertainment system, whether it's a security system, call Mike Stoll's old VFL teammate J.J. Surlis and get the folks at Safety Systems to come out to your home or office. They are fantastic. Also fantastic, I just mentioned him, my old friend VFL, Mike Stoll right there. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be on. It's always an honor to be with you, John.
He's already lying. That's good.
That's right.
And right here, Dr. Christopher Ramsey, who's with us once a year. Good to have you here, sir, from Tennessee Urology Associates. And as I said, going to break, we do this segment. It's one segment every year leading into Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, which is September. Incredibly important topic. One that I've gone through, one that my father's gone through now. Both trusted you, both still here. Thank you. There are a lot of stats that might get your attention. Let's take a look at some facts about prostate cancer. 1 in 350 men under the age of 50, under the age of 50. It's only 1 in 350 will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. I hit the jackpot at 40, unfortunately. 1 in 52 men from 50 to 59, and 1 in 19 men between 60 and 69. So the older you get, the more likely this is. 1 in 19. It's the most common non-skin cancer in America. More common than breast cancer, more common than any other type of cancer other than skin cancers. 1 in 9 men in the United States will eventually be diagnosed with this, and 1 in 5 African-American men. So incredibly important for African-American men to check this. About 10 men off an 85-man college football roster will get it, basically, if you think about it that way. This year, nearly 165,000 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. More than 29,000 will die from it. Men with relatives who've had prostate cancer are twice as likely to get it, but 99% of American patients live 5 or more years after diagnosis. 99%. The trick, and we've told people this for years, catch it early. This is one of those cancers. You get this one early, you can beat this one. Chris, how do you catch this thing early?
Well, John, you're right about catching it early, because you really can't prevent this type of cancer. You're going to get it or you're not going to get it. So if you can catch it early, you can really do a good job of treating it and really having low side effects from the treatment. Mm-hmm. So people who can catch it early are going to do very, very well. People who don't catch it early don't do quite as well.
So you're looking at PSA tests and then the
PSA test and a rectal exam.
The rectal exam that nobody likes,
right,
but it's 15 seconds, and you like it less than the patient.
I hope it's shorter than 15 seconds.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Well, the good doctors, all right. But a PSA test, just a blood test.
Right. So PSA and a rectal exam once a year for men who are over 50 and men who are under 75. After 75, you may not need it as much depending on your health. And also black men are much higher risk for a more aggressive cancer too, not just getting cancer, but a more aggressive cancer. So African-American men need to be checked as well, starting at the age of 40.
And I had my normal doctor, not my urologist, but my regular doctor, caught mine early and gave me a PSA test because I had another symptom. There was a trace amount of blood in my urine. He said, just humor me and do this. But typically, over 50 is when you start needing to look at the PSA test. But you also want to take a look at those other, you do normal blood tests, and you might find something in there that says, why don't you take a PSA test? That's what saved me. The other thing that saved me was Mike Stoll, who I happen to know and who was selling the equipment. You've sold medical equipment for years now. You sold medical equipment that is used to treat prostate cancer. So when I was diagnosed, I immediately called you and said, what doctor do I need to get with? You turned me on to this guy. But Mike, you've dealt with that cancer in terms of going out, working the equipment. The NFL has made a push that you were involved in some of those meetings where they talked about the Know Your Stats movement. Do men, just your opinion, do men take this disease seriously enough?
No, well, the answer is no, they don't, because when men, they're tough, and you gave the stat earlier, this is more common than breast cancer, right? And we hear about breast cancer all over because it's the women talk about it, they're open about it, and they're going to discuss it. Men aren't like that, and they need to be like that. You called me. I remember where I was. I mean, I was in a Walmart parking lot when you called, exactly where you were, and you were shocked, and you were like, "Hey, what do I do?" Yeah. And that's the normal reaction because it's just not talked about enough. And luckily, I knew Dr. Ramsey, and I knew who to get you in touch with. But it needs to be talked about much more. And I think there's been some movements made in that. It's becoming more talked about. But like you mentioned, 10 out of my teammates will have prostate cancer. That's just the odds, the way it will go. And so, talking to your if you're a wife, talking to your loved one, talk about it. If you're a man, go and get a blood test because that's not very invasive.
Yeah.
If it turns up like, hey, you may have an elevated PSA and go on from there, that's not a problem because these guys know what they're doing. Yeah. And like Dr. Ramsey said, it can be cured. It can be taken care of very quickly. It's not an aggressive type of cancer, so luckily, if you catch it early, you're in great shape.
And you mentioned a lot of guys think they're tough guys. We had someone on. Over the years, we've had other people out here to talk about their experiences with prostate cancer. One of the gentlemen who joined us a few years ago was a patient of yours, and he came out and he talked about, I didn't catch it early because I thought I was a tough guy, and that was Ken Sparks, the legendary coach at Carson Newman, who he lost last year because he didn't catch it early. And if you don't catch it early, you've put yourself behind the 8 ball. So the trick, and that's something that Ken Sparks talked about on our show, and I know it's something that he would still want us to continue to push. Get out there, take it seriously, do the tests. Christopher Ramsey, you saved my life. More importantly, you saved my father's life. Thank you. Mike Stoll, stick around. I want to talk to you about the offensive line, the position you played. That's coming up next. We've still got a lot more to come, including our predictions for the season record and our predictions for Tennessee, West Virginia. Come on back on the Sports Source.